Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel again, I hope. This afternoon I'm making a short video on how I use the Litchi app on my phone with the waypoints. Unfortunately I'm not very well, so please excuse my funny voice. I've got a terrible cold which is stopping me from going up to my field to fly. Okay, so how do I use Litchi? Well, I first of all go to https blah de blah de blah flylitchi.com/hub, and that will present you with this map. And obviously the map will vary from where you are. It will probably show your local area, but if not, you'll have to just scroll across to it. Now I'm very lucky, I have a large field here which is a sports field for use by the local area, and as yet nobody's complained about me flying up there. And generally speaking, apart from when there's actual football matches in process, there's not much going on there. There are a few dog walkers, a couple of joggers, and so on and so forth, so I'm not interfering with anybody. Now for this demonstration, I'm going to pretend that this building is the beautiful castle that we want to fly around and video. And I'm going to fly a short mission around in the field here using the point of view setting and so on and so forth. So settings, first of all, I like to check that I've got the settings how I want them. Set it for your copter. In my case it's I've got a Phantom 3, so it's Mavic / Phantom 3.4 Inspire 1 or 2. I like to measure things in imperial measurements because I'm in England, and I like straight lines, I don't use curved turns. Cruising speed 15 miles an hour. Default curve size doesn't make any difference because I'm not using curves, but obviously you could adjust that when you're using curves yourself. Show discover missions, that makes absolutely no difference to what we're doing today. However, with that ticked, if you scroll back out on the map, you'll see icons where other people have saved missions, and you can indeed download those missions and fly them if you wish. Some of them are really quite good. So we've got our settings set up. Now let's have a proper look here. This is the beautiful castle which actually resembles the sports hall that we're going to fly around. So we want to focus our view on that, or our point of view. Point of interest, call it what you will. In this case, they call it point of interest. Now to make that work, we need to right click, which is put a point of interest. So you'll notice that's a pale bluey green colour. And this window is open, which tells us the point of interest settings. The longitude and latitude and the altitude. That I don't really find that makes a great deal of difference. I would imagine if you were filming something very tall, you would set that about halfway up the wall so that it would the camera would point and get the whole building in rather than just a bit at the bottom, something like that. But I've not used it. Now that's point of interest 1. You can have more than one point of interest, you can have multiple points of interest, but for this demonstration we're just going to have one. Now this area here with the dirty white line, that's a raised area, which is where I usually fly from. There's a nice bench there which allows the old man to sit down and set up his copter. But we're going to start our flying from here, so we'll put in the first waypoint. First waypoint, now the default's at 98 feet when you first fire it up, but I only want to fly that one at 45 foot. So change that. You can either use the slider or highlight it and type it in. Click anywhere in the white area and it sets it. We're going to use the cruising speed that we set earlier. Curve size, it doesn't make any difference because we're flying straight lines. Heading, well at the moment that's pointing at the point of focus, the point of interest over here, but just to ensure that it keeps doing that, we'll focus point of interest. And that's going to lean the camera down at -6 degrees, so it's slightly below the horizontal, and it'll look straight at the building. Now I need some actions. Now to add the actions are rather good. First thing I'm going to do is stay for 15 seconds. I always stay for 15 seconds at the first waypoint. That gives me, I can have a look at the copter, make sure everything's right, make sure the camera's doing what it should do before the mission proper starts. And then using the plus I'll add another action, which is going to be start recording. That will obviously start recording from the camera. Now let's put another waypoint in. Let's put one over here. Like that. That's waypoint 2. It's still at 45 feet. I think we'll move that up to 100 foot. And tick anywhere in the white area and focus the point of interest, and that's done. And now we'll move on and put a third one in, third waypoint. That's at 100 foot, but we'll lift that up. We'll go up to 200 foot there. Click in the white area, that's set at 200 foot, focus point of interest, that's that one done. Now we're going to come across here. I'm going to lower this one down, back down to 100 foot. And focus point of interest, because we're starting to do our descent now. Another one in, sorry, that should be 150 foot. My mistake. And this one here, put one in there, and that one will be 100 foot. Focus point of interest, cruising speed, etc. is all how we want it. And then the last waypoint goes in there, which is going to be back at 45 foot. Click in the white area, and we're going to add an action which is going to be stop recording. And that is basically it. If we close this window and scroll out a bit, and we can see the whole mission. You can't really see that all that clearly because they're rather close together. Waypoint 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now what I like to do before I go and fly is just work my way through the waypoints and check that I've got everything right. 45 foot, the cruising speed, focus point of interest, stay for 15 seconds, start recording. Push this blue arrow to the right, it moves on to the next waypoint. Check that all again, focus point of interest, cruising speed, 100 foot, yep, next one. 200 foot, focus point of interest, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that one's right as well. That one's right, and the last one, I didn't focus point of interest. Not that that really matters, but because that is really just to bring me home. Now, the one thing I think is very important when you set up a litchi waypoint, litchi mission, litchi is very good at flying out of range of your radio, quite happily, and it'll fly and complete the mission. So I always have one waypoint, the last waypoint, which is back where we've taken off. I don't know what would happen if the mission ended and you were out of radio range. I assume that it would trigger the return to home, but I don't know, and I'm not brave enough to try it. So maybe somebody can let me know. So that's the mission built. Now we need to save it, and that's quite straightforward. Click missions, save, and what should we call this one? No, pick it P20 420. There we go. Now that's saved that online to the litchi servers, and when you log in with your phone or your tablet, the mission will be there. Okay, next thing is to go flying. So I'll see you in a minute at the field. Just a little note, some of you that are very quick will notice that this mission isn't exactly the same as the one we're going to fly. The reason for that is I've not been very well and the weather's not too good, so I haven't been able to fly this mission yet, but I'm keen to get the video out there. So I've used an earlier mission which was quite similar, which is actually called Waypoint 420. I was doing some tests to see if the litchi would allow you to fly above 400 foot, and it won't, which is good news. So there we go. Sorry about that, but I'm sure you'll be able to work it out. Right, let's go on with the flying now.
50 feet altitude, 80% battery.
Right, here we go. We're going to try flying a waypoint mission now. So first of all, we bring up our selection of tasks to do. And as you can see, we've got waypoint, follow me, orbit, focus, pano, track,
50
and
feet altitude, 77% battery.
My ID. So we're going to select waypoint, and immediately you'll notice it's changed the map onto the main part of the display and the camera onto the smaller part of the display. Now we'll load a mission.
76% battery.
We load a mission. We select that one and load it. And there you can see the mission laid out on the map. Now to start the mission I press the play button and it asks me to confirm it.
50 feet altitude.
We've got 45 foot,
75%
101 foot, 200 foot, 98 foot, etc, etc. Estimated mission time 2 minutes, total distance 2,162 foot. So here we go. It's uploading and the mission started. Oh, there's a nice bit of sun on the camera there.
Altitude. 74% battery.
Now it's at waypoint 1 and I told it to wait here for 15 seconds at 45 foot, which it's doing nicely, and then it should start recording.
45 feet altitude. 72% battery. Recording started.
And off we go on the mission. I've told it, I've set the sports centre as the focal point, the point of interest, and it's roaring away.
71 feet
climbing.
altitude. 71% battery.
It's climbing to, it should climb to 101 foot at that point, and now it'll start to move on to waypoint 3 at 200 foot.
120 feet altitude. 70% battery.
Now it's coming up to waypoint 3 where it should stop again and fly towards the sports centre.
198 feet altitude. 68% battery.
It's coming along nicely to waypoint 4, which is at 98 feet.
120 feet altitude. 67% battery.
And now it's going to move on to waypoint 5, losing height as it comes, back down to 45 feet, where it should stop and stop recording.
45 feet altitude. Recording stopped.
There we go.
66% battery.
Now the craft will sit there where it is until one of several things happen. Either I give it a command, or the battery goes flat and it decides to land, or I start the mission again.
45 feet altitude. 64% battery.
Let's start the mission again. Go, it's uploading the mission. It's pretty close to waypoint 1, so it's not going to move too far. There we are, it's at waypoint 1. It should sit there for 15 seconds.
46 feet altitude. 63% battery. Recording started.
And off we go again.
56 feet altitude. 62% battery.
Let's have a look at the camera view this time.
102 feet altitude. 61% battery.
Now while you're watching this, you'll probably notice there's quite a lot of jello and shake. I have a problem with my gimbal which I've not been able to overcome.
174 feet altitude. 58% battery.
It does this annoying buzzing thing. About every 2 seconds the gimbal buzzes, and that actually you can see if you look at the goalposts particularly, or even perhaps the lampposts.
151 feet altitude.
You can see the
57% battery.
See camera shake coming on the finer details. It's not major, but I don't want it. So if anybody's got any ideas how to cure that, I have calibrated the gimbal.
71 feet altitude.
Calibrated
56% battery.
I've calibrated the IMU. I've done just about everything I can think of. Right, recording stopped. Let's bring it home. Now it could obviously just trigger
46
return
feet
to home.
altitude. 54% battery.
I could obviously, as I say, trigger return to home, but I'm not a lover of return to home. I prefer to fly it myself, although I do like the
18 feet altitude.
autopilot.
53% battery.
That's me.